Hello, good morning. Welcome along to your midweek Ireland end. The week is flying along, it really is.
It absolutely is flying by. It's Wednesday, the 13th of September, and we are delighted to have you with us.
Absolutely. Now, coming up very shortly, we're going to be talking about creches as they are set to close their doors and protest at the end of the month. We're going to be hearing from childcare providers and parents about the impact this will have. I know the impact it will have on me.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. 0896 111 111 if you're trying to go to work and the creches are going to have to close their doors. It must be so difficult out there. So yeah, we'd love to hear.
They're saying that they're to the pin of their collar, that they can't afford to keep the doors open with what's going on.
Yeah.
And parents we've got the third highest childcare costs in Europe, so we would love to hear from you on this. One affects so many people. We're also going to be meeting Paralympian Peter Ryan a little bit later on. He'll be telling us about the epic journey he's about to undertake, and of course it is for a very good cause.
Incredible. Also, actor Cathy Belton will be joining us, and she's going to talk detective dramas and working with a cast of fierce females. I know what that's like.
Brilliant. Shiva is with us again this morning.
Fierce.
Good morning, Shiva.
Good morning, guys. How are we?
Fierce female over there.
I'll take that. Absolutely.
Fierce
Go for it.
Loads on the way today, guys, including... Now, do you automatically compare yourself to others in a negative light? We'll be talking about that and the science of bias. Catherine Leyden is also going to be making a Bailey's cheesecake, and we're showing you how to make homemade immune-boosting berry shots. Now, I love a few shots myself.
I love bit of the cheesecake, to be honest with you.
It's like, which one are we going to go for?
Cheesecake and berry shots.
And then it's going to be a good day.
Absolutely
That's
perfect.
what we need. That's it.
Just what we need this morning. Just what you need this morning. Thank you for joining us. But now it's time to get the news in the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Anne O'Donnell.
Thanks, Tommy. Good morning. Well, RTE representatives will be facing an Oireachtas committee later on today, where documents provided to members are highlighting issues again with financial controls at the broadcaster. Well, this comes amid a significant drop in the rate of TV licence payments this year. Well, speaking on The Tonight Show last night, Minister Neil Richmond has been saying that RTE should sell off land in their Donnybrook headquarters to make savings.
Yeah, absolutely. RTE have already sold off land. This is something, I spend a lot of time in the UK. This is something that British television stations have been doing for the last decade. Channel 4 moving up to Manchester, BBC launching a brand new large studio in Glasgow, moving out their facilities, maintaining a very small studio in central London, maybe in Westminster, but everything else going out to West and South London. We look at the TV and film opportunities in Wicklow, in Limerick. There's loads of opportunities to perhaps look at that site. It's a way to get a cash injection and indeed, Alison, to get a bit of reform into the organisation. A real mental step change.
The results of a no-confidence vote by the GRA members in the Garda Commissioner will be announced later today. It stems from unhappiness about proposed changes to the Garda roster. Well, it's expected that Drew Harris is going to keep his job. That's regardless of the outcome of the ballot. A major rescue effort is underway in eastern Libya this morning after a storm triggered deadly flooding over the weekend there. At least 2,300 people are known to have died so far, while thousands more are missing.
In a year of devastating climate shocks, the pictures emerging from Libya are unprecedented. At least 10,000 people are believed to be missing in the eastern city of Derna, after intense rainfall from Storm Daniel overwhelmed two dilapidated dams above the city, causing them to collapse and unleash a wall of water below. Entire neighbourhoods have been washed away. Authorities estimate that a quarter of the city has disappeared overnight under mudslides. The area has been declared a disaster zone with no electricity or communications. Several thousand bodies have been recovered so far, but the toll is likely to be far higher. Libya's envoy to the Red Crescent told the UN that at least 10,000 people are now missing. Tens of thousands more have been displaced in this impoverished region, with no prospect of returning home. There are now urgent appeals for humanitarian aid. Aubrey Robinson, Virgin Media News.
Well, the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has arrived in Russia for talks with Vladimir Putin. The meeting comes as Russia is reportedly seeking more munitions from Pyongyang for its offensive in Ukraine. This meeting marks 4 years since the two leaders last met in person. Over to the US now, where congressional Republicans have ordered to open a formal impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden over his family's business dealings. Well, the inquiry comes, that's despite criticism over a lack of direct evidence that Joe Biden benefited from his son Hunter's business dealings.
Through our investigations, we have found that President Biden did lie to the American people about his own knowledge of his family's foreign business dealings. Eyewitnesses have testified that the president joined on multiple phone calls and had multiple interactions. Dinners resulted in cars and millions of dollars into his son's and his son's business partners.
This is the extremist Republicans trying to figure out how they can use the business of the American people, doing the work we're supposed to do, as leverage to try to improve their political position. They know that there is no basis for this.
Back home, the Taoiseach has told Ireland's big four energy companies they must go further with price cuts in the next billing cycle. That's pending no increase in wholesale prices. Well, it comes after recent announcements of price reductions from companies in the sector amid the cost of living crisis. Leo Varadkar has said that there will be help for people in the upcoming budget this year, but energy companies must also play their part.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning starts out dry across much of the eastern half of the country with spells of hazy sunshine, highest temperatures of 13 to 17 degrees. And this afternoon, rain will spread to most areas across the country, becoming heavier and more persistent in Connacht and in Ulster. Highest temperatures of 14 to 18 degrees. And tonight, patchy outbreaks of rain or drizzle will persist with some mist and fog in places and a minimum temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees. And that's your weather outlook.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers, starting with the Irish Times. Its headline: McGrath says surge in corporation tax may be abating. This comes after the Minister for Finance confirmed the government would proceed with a budget package that increases spending by $5 billion and reduces tax by $1 billion.
Cabinet wants answers on RT land sale within weeks. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. With the broadcaster potentially needing a €50 million bailout, RT is coming under mounting government pressure to look at selling off part of or all of its Montrose campus in D4.
Worst week yet for TV licence is the top story on the Daily Mail. This comes as RT suffers its biggest fall in TV licence payments of just under €1 million in 1 week, as its executives face more grilling by politicians in Leinster House today.
The Examiner leads with climate change risk for Cork's most vulnerable. This comes as a study commissioned by Cork City Council predicted that all types of flooding, droughts and heat waves will be more frequent and severe by 2050, putting a huge strain on the city's infrastructure.
The Mirror's front page: Gran on terror charges. A grandmother has appeared in court yesterday accused of sending money to a terror group. The 68-year-old, who claims the cash was for her son, who has 4 wives, was among 6 people charged with money laundering and international terrorism financing.
The Star leads with 5 pops and my baby was lying dead. The mother of gangland murder victim Eric Fowler told how she was devastated to find her son with fatal gunshot wounds in their driveway of their home in 2018.
The Herald also goes with the same story. My son is dead, my baby. Eric Fowler, a dad of 2, died after being ambushed by 1 or more gunmen who shot him several times.
And the Sun leads with 1D Liam rushed to hospital in agony. The ex-One Direction singer fell ill with agonising kidney pain while holidaying at Lake Como in Italy with girlfriend Kate Cassidy. Doctors are investigating the recurring kidney problem which led to him cancelling a tour last month. And we send him our best wishes.
We do send him our best wishes. And news last night, of course, NSYNC reunited on stage at the VMAs.
Lauren is loving this.
I watched it so many times this morning. It's so good.
Bye. Anyway.
No one D, though, that's it. Now, after the break, we're talking about something completely and utterly different. We're hearing from some of those affected by the upcoming, this has been announced at the end of the month, there's going to be creche closures at a protest.
Yeah, absolutely. Get in touch. We'd love to get your opinion on that. What do you make of it? 0896 111 111. We'll see you back after the short break.
Welcome back. Now, recent financial concerns amongst childcare providers across the country have resulted in what's going to be protests among some of these providers, which are due to take place later on this month.
So we're here to discuss the main areas of concern in Ireland's childcare industry is founder of the Federation of Early Childhood Providers, Elaine Dunn, parent Louise Priestman, and childcare provider Siobhan Mulderrick. Good morning to you all.
How are you all?
So much for coming in. Now, a lot of parents, I'm sure, this morning are seeing this and maybe received a letter about this protest. Elaine, can you give us an idea of why childcare providers are planning to protest?
So for a lot of us, it's we're tied into a free freeze going back to 2017. So when you signed up for core funding, they asked you to sign up for a fee freeze dating back to 2021. So for us, we're stuck way back in 2017. And like, if you think about it, there's nothing at the same price as it was back in 2017. So that's one of the reasons. Burnout and anxiety is another one. We're totally stressed out. All of the paperwork we have to do to, I suppose we're micromanaged by the department, and we have a lot of paperwork to do for the schemes. And then the staffing crisis. We can't get staff. So in my service, particularly in Dublin, I'm down to 26 children out of 31 because I can't get staff. And in another service, I have 15 out of 25 because I can't get staff. And this is nationwide. There's no staff anywhere.
OK, so this is, I've been trying to break this down and understand this. Right. And we'd love for you to get in contact with us about what's happening in your life, 0896 111 111, because we have the third most expensive childcare service in Europe. Like, we're up very high. We've got a statement from Minister Roderick O'Gorman. He has said that the three-day protest, it's not warranted. According to a statement given to us from his department, investment by the state in early learning and childcare is at an all-time high, with an additional 400 million invested in the sector in the last 2 years. And we know that there are a lot of industries that are having issues trying to recruit at the moment. So what do you say to him going, we're giving as much money as we can and we're trying to provide for children? And we know there's been more and more invested.
Absolutely, there has been, but it's not coming to us on the ground, and that's evident.
Where is it going?
Well, that's what we've asked. We've asked the department and we've asked government, can we see the full allocation and breakdown of where the funding is going to? Because if you're listening to providers, and we've done nationwide meetings all across the country, and in every one we've had providers crying. They've borrowed money from their children's college funds, their overdrafts are really high, all of that's going on.
What, to keep the doors open?
To keep the doors open. And like, we're still at 0.3% GDP, so we haven't gone up at all. We're still stand still. So there's absolutely a problem somewhere. So it's up to government to come out now and just show us where it's going. And we've asked every TD to get the breakdown for us, and we still haven't been given it.
Well, we're seeing providers crying because they can't afford to do it. Louise, parents. And I know from my own personal opinion, the price that you have to pay for this childcare is so high. How difficult would it be, though, for you if these creches close their doors only for a couple of days, but we're hearing of more and more creches around the country actually closing for good?
Absolutely. Well, in my position, myself and my husband, we have 2 kids, Louis and Amy, and they're in full-time care. So we work full-time, so we do rely really, really heavily on our childcare provider. And I think the biggest concern for me is that this month, for instance, we're facing 3 days of strike. So that's 3 days where I will have no childcare. So that's very, very difficult. Any parent would tell you how difficult it is to try and work and also mind your kids. It's just impossible.
Yeah, impossible, yeah.
So we're facing 3 days of strike. So that's 3 days without childcare. But that's not the first time it's happened. But also, not only that, but if our childcare provider was to close their doors tomorrow, I see them, they're stretched to the max. They're finding it difficult to recruit good staff. They're low pay. So if our childcare provider was to actually close their doors tomorrow, I would be essentially forced to either take unpaid leave, which is just not viable for us as a family of 4 at the moment, or leave my job altogether. And that would have massive, like, I love my job and I love what I do. It would have massive emotional repercussions on me, but For the kids, for me, there would be no continuity for them. They'd be losing out on their friends. They love their teachers. So there's massive impact, not just for us as a husband and wife, but also for our kids.
But are you talking to other working mums? Because this is, like we see from all the research, that this exponentially does affect working mums who are full employment.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure we can't do with taking a lot of women out of the workforce right now.
Yeah.
Like, have you had the chats going, is this worth it for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's a huge amount of my friends that have made the decision already that with childcare costs the way that they are, that it's just not worth it for them. I think for myself and my husband Pete, you know, if we were to find that we had no childcare, it would see me leaving the workforce. And as you say, it is women that predominantly do take the brunt of the childcare burden. So it would see potentially us leaving, or me leaving the workforce.
Siobhan, you have a childcare facility, and we're seeing with this protest a lot of childcare facilities are going to close for 3 days, but there are more and more that are closing permanently. You are in that position. Give us your situation and why you and your husband have decided that enough is enough.
Yes, Tommy, we actually last week celebrated, and I do say celebrated, 20 years in business, because it is a huge milestone for anybody to be running their own business. And recently we took the decision to close our service gradually over the next 18 months. And the reason we've done that gradually is to allow parents to hopefully find childcare for their children over the next 18 months. I'm one of 2 creches based in Shannon Town.
Yeah.
So you can imagine when I close, there's 1 creche left.
How many people go to your creche?
At the moment, we have 44 children that come to our service.
Wow.
So,
Siobhan, I'm just wondering, right? Because I don't expect anyone to get into something for purely altruistic purposes. You got to pay your bills, put food on the table. Was there a time when this made sense? And what's happened? Like, because we know that childcare workers, you can't recruit them because they're not making enough money. You know, they could be making more money doing a less stressful job. What is going on? 400 million in the last 2 years.
Basically, we haven't enough money coming in to cover our costs. We just don't. The cost of living over the last 12 to 18 months has just rocketed, as everybody knows. We need more funding. We have to pay our staff better wages. We cannot get staff. We cannot retain our staff. We need to pay them higher wages.
Are we at a minimum wage sort of situation?
No, my
with
staff are not on minimum wage. No, I pay my staff above the recommended ERO rate. But they're struggling as well.
I have to ask, so where does the money go? Because when you see that the 3rd highest in the EU, and the money that and it's money well spent, because I think that the benefits that my children have had in creches, you just can't put money, you can't put a price on it. But you do have to ask the question, like, where is the money going?
Can I answer that? Again, it's down to the fee freeze dating back to 2017. Yes. That's where the problem is. And we've said this to Minister Gorman.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah, but if you're tied into a fee freeze of 2017 and you've other services who have brought up their fees up to the rate of inflation and everything by 2021, that then snookers the other ones. It's not a level playing field. And
so who's in the fee freeze and who isn't in the fee freeze?
Anyone that signs up to core funding is in the fee freeze, but for a lot of the services, they're tied in to 2017 fee freeze. Not 2021. And that's where the problem is. If government and the Department of Children allowed us to bring our fees up to a rate to 2023, probably a lot of this would be resolved. We don't know. But at the moment, this is where the biggest issue is. And when we go around to the country speaking to providers, this is the biggest one that comes up is, well, my fee freeze is actually 2010 or my fee freeze is 2014. If you're tied into a fee freeze dating back that length of time, like, do you know anything that is the same price as it was in 2017?
No, I know.
Do you know?
Well, give us an idea of what you've heard from parents whenever you've told them that you're going to be closing and they potentially have their child signed up to go in a year or two, Siobhan.
Parents have been absolutely devastated to hear that we're closing our service. We have a fabulous reputation in Shannon over the last 20 years. We've seen an awful lot of children go through our service. My own daughter has worked in my service with me over the years. She went on to be a teacher. She now has 2 children, and I can't guarantee her childcare next year for my newborn granddaughter.
Elaine, how much are you looking for? Do we have a number on this, how much you're looking for from the government?
Yeah, so what we had said was we wanted to get the capitation for the ECC, so that's the early childhood care and education, raised up to €100. and that would save those small businesses. And then for the rest of us, we wanted the government, once the second DRO comes into play, which is the Employment Regulation Order, which we should hear about in the next week or two, that the government cover that amount of funding to ensure that we can afford to pay the staff wages at that rate. And then we were looking at around 138 million extra coming into the sector on top of that.
138 million on top of the 400 million that they've always invested in the last 2 years, looking for an extra 138 million.
And 44 million, sorry, for the aim and inclusion, access and inclusion model.
OK, so we're heading up towards 600 million, and we're seeing in the papers today that the primary schools are looking for money, the secondary schools are looking for money because their capitation isn't going there. We want to hear from you on this today, because with the rates of them, third highest in Europe, what is happening? What's going on with insurance providers? 0896 111 111, and what will you do when this protest happens at the end of the month? I'm sure it will hit home for an awful lot of people.
What impact would it have on you at home on this as well? Listen, thank you so much for coming in. Elaine Dunn, founder and chairperson of the Federation of Early Childhood Providers. Louise Priestman, parent, thank you for coming with your opinion as well. And Siobhan Mulderrick, congratulations on 20 years.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sorry to hear that you are closing the doors.
Thanks so much. We'll talk more about this in just a little while, and still to come this hour, we'll have the latest updates on all things. There's an Oireachtas committee today.
There is,
we'll be chatting RTE in just a little while.
Plus lots more, all coming up after this short break.
Welcome back. New documents revealed that RTE paid more than €650,000 to staff in car allowances last year, with no stipulation that recipients would have to hold a driving licence to receive the payment.
Yes, that's going to be just one of the topics on the agenda for today's Oireachtas Media Committee meeting. And joining us with that story and everything else this morning is political reporter with the Irish Times, Jack Horgan-Jones. Good morning to you, Jack. It's your story, along with a lot of other stories this morning, talking about RTE, but about the 650,000 in car allowances.
Yeah.
But you don't have to show proof that you have a driver's licence.
Yes, €656,651. That's how much was paid out in car allowances to 61 recipients by RTE last year.
And can I just say, so is it a total of 17 got an allowance of between 12 to 13,000, but so some were getting a car allowance of 24 to 25,000.
That's the very top end of the scale, and I think that it won't be lost on anyone that another figure that came out yesterday was the lowest paid people in RTE and how much they're paid.
Yeah.
And they are paid on an annual basis nearly the exact same as the very top executives are getting in a car allowance. And I think that is really just kind of ramming home to people, you know, the discrepancy in earnings, obviously, in RTE, but also this wider point that has been running through this whole controversy that has played out over the summer, which is how RTE organises its kind of financial architecture and how it pays top earners at the organisation and what the kind of governance arrangements
because they've decided not to release various things that they said they were the top earners because of GDPR. Do we know if these car allowances were paid to, like, journalists who drive all over the country all the time, or could it have been someone who was driving 2 minutes down the road to Montrose? We don't know.
We don't know. We know kind of broadly speaking how many people are in each kind of category of income, so how many people are earning between 100 and 120, but we don't know what kind of people are in receipt of car allowances. But we do know that the car allowance could have been paid to somebody who didn't even have a driving licence, so it wasn't really necessarily for a car, and that it was unvouched, so you didn't have to kind of produce any evidence of having spent it on motoring or cars or anything like that in order to take it. It was effectively really part of your pay.
Top-up salary.
Yeah, and when you dig into some of the documents that were sent to the Oireachtas committee, it's interesting to see how the people at the very top of RTE were discussing the car allowance and what context it was discussed in, because often it was right next to discussions around top-level pay, and they'd be bemoaning the fact that top-level pay was set at a level that couldn't exceed the salary of the DG, but they were talking about 5 new executives coming in, all of whom would get a car allowance between 16,000 and 24,000 and pension payments and all the rest of it. So it's part of that wider discussion of just how corporate pay was structured in RTE and what exactly the oversight of those processes were.
Corporate pay, and of course how those pay deals are set up.
Yeah.
We don't know. Hopefully the media committee are going to find out. They're going to have to try and find out without the head accountant Richard Collins, who's not available to talk today at the Oireachtas meeting.
Is that a big deal? Richard Collins,
personally, I think it is.
Richard Collins, who we know, who didn't want to, like, he's a big name at the Oireachtas committee during the summer, the CFO.
The CFO who didn't know his own seller.
Yes.
Yes.
So now we're kind of, because we've been looking at this, we've been talking about this. Is it a big deal that he is not on the list today? Because there's a lot of attention.
I think today is more focused on the board, and you have nearly every member of the board there today, including some who haven't been in front of the Oireachtas committees so far. But that being said, I think that, you know, his absence is worthy of remark, or it's worthy to dwell on for a second, because in particular, his version of events when it comes to the €120,000 that Ryan Tubridy's salary was misstated by, that conflict, that contrasts with his predecessor. So it would have been interesting to get his view on that. And just in general, even though I think his role has probably changed in a formal sense, he's still the CFO of the organisation.
He is.
So it could have been of value to have him there today.
And we're seeing as well in the front of the Irish Independent as well as that there is talk from government wanting to actually look into selling Montrose as well. So we're going to find out a lot more with that Oireachtas meeting coming up later on today as well. Let's move on to another story. This is in the Indo as well this morning about the Gardaí and body cams. So this is something that they're actually putting it out there, looking for companies to kind of submit tenders
so it's
and stuff
a request
for
for tender, basically. This has been working its way through the system for some time. It was recommended by the Commission of Policing. It's something that certainly the Garda representative organisations and rank and file and frontline Gardaí themselves would have been eager to see, and it was something that kind of got bogged down in controversy earlier on this year because it got associated with the idea of introducing facial recognition technology, which became this very kind of charged political debate, causing division within the coalition. The Green Party not wanting FRT to be associated with the introduction of facial recognition technology. Now that's not being introduced alongside body cams. They've separated the two of them out, and the body cams are now coming in, and they're doing so in a kind of quite gently, slowly kind of way. They're being very clear that, you know, it's not going to be constantly on, because I think that people's fears underpinning this is that it becomes like a system of kind of passive surveillance operated by the state or by the police force. And
we
I think
kind
that
of
people
live in that already, though, don't we? Like, you always see things online of like, why you stop recording me? You're not allowed to record me, and everyone's got cameras in each other's faces. Because the Gardaí will not be required to stop recording if you ask them to.
Yes, that's true. And I suppose, like, if someone was in a public place and they're being videoed by a journalist or having their photograph taken, they don't have a right to ask that their photograph not be taken there either. So that's kind of an extension of existing kind of principles of law around that. But I think what's interesting is that it's going to be very much, as I say, introduced incrementally. So it's going to come in on a trial basis next year and then be rolled out more completely in 2025. But the point that the Guards would make, and that the Acting Minister for Justice, Simon Harris, made earlier on this year when he was fighting for this, is that often in a situation where you have basically, as you say, everyone videoing each other when there's a highly charged situation, the only persons without video evidence will be the Guards themselves.
Completely, and they're having to go into situations where nobody else would want to go. So you'd like to know that you're actually being able to justify your situation as well.
The other day,
but
only 3 guards walking into that situation where people were being rammed with cars. Like, it was terrifying, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely
now
terrifying.
I think obviously they'll need to develop good codes of practice around how it's used around children, domestic violence incidents, all those kind of things. But like, I think in the round, this is something that does seem to be coming down the tracks.
Yeah.
And it follows on because the Guards are going through a very difficult time at the moment, and the Garda Representative Association, there's a large vote of no confidence going towards their Commissioner, Drew Harris, as well. So it looks like it's the Guards are going through it.
So we talked about the front line and the body cams and all the rest of it. Behind the scenes, as always, there's an undercurrent of industrial relations disputes within the Gardaí and between the Gardaí and in management and the government. So there is going to be, or there has already actually been a vote of confidence in Drew Harris. The results of that will be known today. It looks like it's going to be resoundingly a vote of no confidence in the Garda Commissioner, which is really significant and historic and unprecedented, but also carries no legal weight or anything like that.
No, it doesn't. Nothing can happen.
Yeah, so we shouldn't expect to have a new Garda Commissioner.
We'd love to hear from you. The body cams, 0896 111 111, and the story that political reporter for the Irish Times has been waiting to get to all day. What is the #1 film to mend a broken heart? Tommy got this in 2 this morning.
I did.
I didn't get it at all. This is impressive.
Oh, not Legally Blonde. Bridget Jones's Diary.
Bridget Jones' Diary.
Bridget Jones's Diary.
Big knickers save everybody, don't they?
Best rom-com.
So this is to mend a broken. So if you're feeling a bit down in the dumps at the minute, Bridget Jones's Diary is the #1 to watch.
Apparently so.
There is a top 10 though.
There's a lot of them to choose from. Yeah.
We've got Bridget Jones's Diary, Legally Blonde, number 2, The Holiday, what a film. Number 3, Bridesmaids, even better again. My Best Friend's Wedding. Don't think I've seen that. Let us know what you think. Have you a better movie that you enjoyed to see that is going to mend a broken heart? 0896 111 111.
Your life is going to change this weekend when you watch My Best Friend's Wedding. It is so good. Right. Jack Horgan-Jones.
No,
you haven't seen it either?
No.
Oh my God, Julia Roberts at her finest. Thank you so much, guys. You've got homework now. This is going to be amazing.
There we go. Thank you. Get in touch with us, please.
We'll be back with you talking
mortgages,
not Julia Roberts. Mortgages next on Ireland AM. Welcome back. Now, the European Central Bank, they are meeting tomorrow to discuss another interest rate hike, which could leave tracker mortgage holders wondering whether to take their chances or fix their mortgage now. And of course, what about first-time buyers?
Yes, so we're interested to hear about that, Warren. And here to offer his advice is financial advisor Carl Dieter. Carl, great to have you on with us. Now, as always, mortgages, very hot topic. And the ECB are meeting again this week to just discuss a potential other interest rate hike. We've already had 9 since last July. What's the reasoning behind the rises?
So interest rates are basically a way to try and control the economy. So quickest way to think about it is imagine you had a fire in your house to keep you warm. If it starts getting too warm, you know, that's your inflation. If the fire jumps out of the grill and lights your curtains on fire, that's hyperinflation. So they put a little bit of water on the fire to tone it down. If they do it a little bit at a time, say a shot glass of water at a time, that's your 9 little hikes going up. If they're really worried, they'll throw a whole cup on. That would be a 1% rate hike. If they make the fire too cold, that's your recession. If they put the fire out entirely, that's an economic depression. So what they're trying to do really is control this idea, getting back to this idea of a fire that has the economy too hot, prices going up too much, and the only tool that they have is to make things more expensive via interest rates. Typically, the money going out in an economy starts to contract, people pull back a bit, prices go up, they spend less, and that gets you your calming effect.
But it's not working in Ireland. Like, we're looking at Germany, who's on the brink of recession. They're an incredibly powerful country who have a voice with the ECB. In Ireland, we haven't been building houses. We've got people looking for houses all over the place, homeless crisis. Is this going to work in Ireland?
The problem with interest rates when they're done across Europe is that Europe is like a big place and not everywhere is the same. So we actually had the same thing back in the early 2000s when the ECB was cutting interest rates and things were going mad in Ireland. And by cutting rates, it actually drove it even more mad again. And that was actually part of the problem of what formed the Celtic Tiger boom and bust. So when you have a country as big as Germany, they're so central and you're trying to do something to help them, that a peripheral country like Ireland, like we're only kind of 1% of Europe, you know, it's not necessarily the best thing for us at this time, but at any given time, what I'm saying is we're not all looking for the same things. So, like, if Germany's on the brink of a recession and you raise interest rates, that can actually be quite recessionary. And they've got to be very careful about that. But then you have places like here where you have that rising rents, rising, mortgage rates, rising house prices, and nothing seems to be fixing it. But we're not the main contender on this stage, and we have to understand our position as a minority kind of shareholder in the European project. So, you know, all you can do is make the best decisions that you can with the information you have. And when it comes to mortgages, that means making sure you make the right choices, get good advice, and just do whatever gets you through this.
And we referred earlier to those on tracker mortgages. I can only imagine the stress of them watching the interest rates creep up higher and higher and higher. What advice would you have for them? Do you think they should be looking to fix their rate?
Well, look, I am one of them because I have a tracker mortgage. So, like, we had kind of 12 good years, and I think it's a bit crazy to think that winter never follows summer. So, you know, I wasn't complaining when rates were low, and fine, okay, I've changed my mind, I might complain a bit now. But bear in mind that your average tracker mortgage is at least 15 years old. So at this stage, you know, you should have paid down a lot of the debt. You should be in a much better position than someone just coming into the market now. That said, for every 100,000 that you've borrowed over 15 years, your repayment will have gone from 600 a month to 800 a month. So if your mortgage was just 100 grand, that's an extra 2,400 a year. It's an extra 4,800 if you had a 200,000 euro mortgage. You know, and to come up with sort of, you know, almost €5,000 because our income tax rates are so high, you've got to earn €10,000. So what you are actually seeing as well with rising house prices and rising interest rates is a lot of wage demands going up as well. But that actually feeds into a spiral type effect. So it gets back to this idea that I say that, you know, interest rates and controlling the whole economy with them, it is a form of witchcraft for people with PhDs.
See, it just kind of sit there. We know, like, we're talking about in the paper today, when it comes to the budget, there's going to be €1 billion in tax cuts, even though the government have been asked, please don't cut taxes, we need to deflate. We're a country that a lot of people might be watching right now, that their house could still be in negative equity from the Celtic Tiger.
Very few of them, thankfully, but it is theoretically
I know a couple of
possible.
people still in negative equity from what happened during the Celtic Tiger. So if we're sitting there and we're watching, myself and Shiva are going viewing houses all the time, like it feels like monopoly money at this stage as to what is happening with the housing sector. For first-time buyers, is it a case of, you know, we live in a place where just get your house, do what you can to get your house and overextend yourself? Or do we have to think about negative equity in the future?
The whole thing with negative equity, in a sense, it's only real if you actually sell a house and you make a loss.
Yeah.
So you take someone, for instance, the tracker mortgage holders we were just talking about, and they were jumping up and down in 2013, we're in negative equity, this is disgraceful. Then their payments went way down, and to rent the same house was, you know, double the price, and they weren't complaining then. So if you're buying a house and you're doing it for kind of 20, 30 years, and you actually do it for 20 or 30 years, it tends to work out. And you get this great savings effect where, you know, you get to live in the house. Every time you make a payment, your wealth goes up. That's why owning housing is one of the biggest things that makes people wealthy in the world. So if you look at it over the long term, overextending is kind of a notional thing, because when you buy a house at the start, you're normally younger in your career, you haven't got as much experience, and the natural influence is for people to earn more as they get more experience in working and grow older. That's why when they brought out the rules for 3.5 times income, I said, that's not thinking about this problem the right way. You need to get people access to the housing. And maybe if we hadn't done that at the time, people would have built more houses because they thought they could sell them, and we wouldn't be in this position now. But look, you can't change the past. All I would be saying is there is such a thing as being overextended. Absolutely true. But the nuance between having a few lean years and being overextended can sometimes just be the difference of how your luck turns out.
Yeah, 0896 111 111. I think there's a lot of people who are chatting about this, people who have had mortgages for 10 or 15 years. Carl Dieter, financial advisor, thank you so much for joining us on this today. We're going to have to take a breath because we're freaking out about it all. We'll be back with you on Ireland AM in just a few minutes.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Great to have you back on the show. Still got plenty to come this hour, from cake to creepy crawlies.
Yeah, putting them in the same sentence isn't the best, is it?
Halloween time.
And about 8:15 this morning, we're meeting the Paralympian who's running from Malin to Mizenhead, raising awareness for people like him with sight loss. We'll chat about that in just a little while.
Plus, she has shared the screen with the likes of Judi Dench, Kate Winslet, to name but a few. Actor Cathy Belton talks sinking her teeth into her latest role.
And we're fighting off the flu and learning about the benefits of berries for our health with our resident forager.
Berry shots, love that. Just what we need this morning. Today brings slight drizzles in the kitchen. Catherine Leyden is here with a mint aero cheesecake. Catherine.
No, not a cheesecake. We're making lemon drizzle cake. Cheesecake.
Oh, what? Sorry.
Cheesecake next week.
What?
We've got the two recipes mixed up. Someone didn't read the email correctly.
Oh, Catherine, we've been talking about cheesecake all morning.
I'm only winding you up, Catherine. So we're having a bit of lemon.
Having lemon drizzle cake, yeah? And I just have the lemon syrup now here ready to pour over the cake when we take it out of the oven.
But don't get it all done yet, or it'll all be finished.
No, just let it cool down a bit.
Yeah, time to let it cool down
Catherine,
a bit.
look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Cool down. Lemon and berries. Tasty, tasty, tasty day. As Shiva's getting comfortable with creepy crawlies, we believe. How are you going, Shiva?
Yes, Collie Ennis, co-host of the Critter podcast, is showing us why we should be going nuts for nature. Collie, why is it so important for kids to get their hands dirty?
We want to instill a love of nature in kids. We want to get them fascinated by bugs and creepy crawlies, like this one that's running off the table. And so when they get older, that they'll appreciate it more and help out more with nature.
Great. I can't wait to hear from the two girlies as well. Do you love books, girls?
Yeah.
They do? OK. Can't wait to see some of that.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning starts out dry across much of the eastern half of the country with spells of hazy sunshine with highest temperatures of 8 to 13 degrees Celsius. This afternoon then, rain will spread to most areas across the country, becoming heavier and more persistent in Connacht and Ulster with highest temperatures of 12 to 17 degrees. And tonight, patchy outbreaks of rain or drizzle will persist with some mist and fog in places. Minimum temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. And that's your weather outlook.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
Now it's time to take a look at this morning's papers, starting with the Irish Times. Its headline, McGrath says surge in corporation tax may be abating. This comes after the Minister for Finance confirmed the government would proceed with a budget package that increases spending by $5 billion and reduces tax by $1 billion.
Cabinet wants answers on RTE land sale within weeks. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. With the broadcaster potentially needing a €50 million bailout, RTE is coming under mounting government pressure to look at selling off part of or all of its Montrose campus in Dublin 4.
Worst week yet for TV licence is the top story on the Daily Mail. This comes as RTE suffers its biggest fall in TV licence payments of just under €1 million in 1 week as executives face more grilling by politicians in Leinster House later on today.
The Examiner leads with climate change risk for Cork's most vulnerable. This comes after a study commissioned by Cork City Council predicted that all types of flooding, droughts and heat waves will be more frequent and severe by 2050, putting a huge strain on the city's infrastructure.
A different story on the Mirror. Its front page, Gran on terror charges. A grandmother has appeared in court yesterday accused of sending money to a terror group. The 68-year-old, who claims the cash was for her son, who has 4 wives, was among 6 people charged with money laundering and international terrorism financing.
The Star leads with 5 pops and my baby was lying dead. The mother of gangland murder victim Eric Fowler told how she was devastated to find her son with fatal gunshot wounds in the driveway of their home in 2018.
The Herald also goes with that same story. My son is dead, my baby. Eric Fowler, a dad of 2, died after being ambushed by 1 or more gunmen who shot him several times yesterday.
And finally, The Sun leads with 1D Liam rushed to hospital in agony. The ex-One Direction singer fell ill with agonising kidney pain while on holidaying at Lake Como in Italy with his girlfriend.
Poor old Liam.
Poor old Liam.
Liam Payne, is that his?
Liam Payne? Don't pretend you don't know, Sheila.
It's just a little pun I'm working on over here.
Big One Directioner over here, absolutely.
He wasn't my fave. He wasn't my fave.
Angela's also Angela Scanlon also on the cover of Loads Paper, looking great for the Strictly.
Stunning.
Oh yeah.
I think she'll look great in the sparkles. The glitters will sit her down to the ground, I think.
I swear to God.
Good honour
for her.
Yeah.
Good honour.
Yeah.
Lots of texts coming in. Thank you so much for all of your texts so far, guys. First up, we were discussing the childcare protests that are taking place in Dublin at the end of this month and the recent childcare closures. Jenny texts in saying, childcare strikes are to be expected. I'm unable to return to work full-time next May following my maternity leave due to lack of childcare spaces. So our household is going down to a 1-income family. Our son is on a waiting list up to 2026. He'll be 3 years old. Yes, it was our decision to have a baby and start a family, but looking at the government doing next to nothing is very disheartening.
2026, he'll be 3. Do you mean if you're wanting to go back to work after maternity leave and there's just no facilities out there, it's just so difficult.
It's going to contribute to the wage gap,
gender
the gender wage gap. Yeah,
of course
absolutely.
it is. Yeah.
It's gonna have a huge
400 million has been put in the last 2 years on top of everything else. Where is the money going?
On top of the fees that you're paying, like any other parents who are out there and paying for this childcare, it is like it's like a second mortgage.
The average is 10 grand a year in Ireland, and I know it varies in different counties, but that's the average that people are paying. And Deirdre is working the same childcare job for the past 22 years, and she has never had a pay rise. The conditions are not acceptable, says Deirdre. In 22 years, imagine how many children Deirdre has brought up for people. That's not right.
We also are going to be talking about body cams. We were talking about that. So the guards are now putting out to tender to get body cams. And in the land of mobile phones and everything else, there has been issues with this. But Peter said, I think body cams are a great idea. They will protect everyone in the long run, both the Garda and the person they're dealing with. It will eliminate any he said, she said arguments.
Yeah.
I think that's fair enough.
I agree.
Me too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it kind of covers people, doesn't it? Gavin also texted in, body cams are great, but I think we need to tackle other issues already happening with the Garda. The new Garda roster seems to be causing more hassle than it's worth, and Dublin's crime scene hasn't gotten any better.
Yeah, and we saw frightening scenes in Galway over the weekend.
It's not going to solve everything, is it?
But they've had a vote, basically it's going to be no confidence in Drew Harris, the Garda Commissioner, but it doesn't mean
what's going to happen
anything there. And we were also talking about movies. The #1 movie to mend a broken heart is Bridget Jones' Diary. Mwah, big knickers fix everything, as we said. But Libby got in contact. She
Big
said,
knickers fix a broken heart. Is that what it is?
Girl, do you know how much they wedge you in? Your heart would have to heal when you've got
nice
big knickers
and snug
on.
then, wouldn't you?
Oh, you're in that.
Okay.
Nice
Libby,
I might be on my own on this, but Grease 2 is the best rom-com of all time.
You're on your own,
fix
Libby.
every problem.
Well,
have we all seen Grease 2?
No.
Have you not seen Grease 2? Have you seen Grease 2?
I have, but I wouldn't watch it again. Sorry, Libby.
It's hard to admit to it, really, to be fair.
OK, what about Faye? Just no rom-com will ever be better than Grey's Anatomy. Derek and Meredith, the greatest love story of all time.
That I agree with.
Really?
Yeah, I love Grey's Anatomy. God,
Never
yeah,
watched
you
it either.
sob at every episode. It's great when you need that release the tears, you know?
Yeah.
There you have it.
It was so calming, breaking up every 5 minutes.
0896 111 111. Give us your movie that you think will mend a broken heart. Bridesmaids, that's a good one, isn't it?
That is a very good one. Nothing like a scene where someone can't control themselves in the street.
In a
Up
wedding
next,
dress.
something completely different. Former Paralympian Peter Ryan opens up about losing his sight at the age of 19.
Plus, he tells us why he's running the length of Ireland to raise awareness. You don't want to miss it. That's coming up after the break. It's great to have you back. Now, navigating your teenage years can be pretty difficult, but for Peter Ryan, his whole life was turned upside down when just at the age of 19, he discovered he was losing his sight.
Now he's embarking on a journey to raise funds for a great cause, and he joins us now to share his story with us. Peter, it is lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure, lads. Thanks, Emil.
We've been throwing questions at you for like the last while, because this is... like, it's heartbreaking and fascinating at the same time. What happened at 19 and how did you start realising that you were losing your sight?
Yeah, and I don't know, like it's, like I say, it's heartbreaking, it's fascinating. I suppose at the moment it's just my story and I don't know any different, but at 19, yeah, so I got a condition called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, which means absolutely very little to the majority of the viewers, but it's a degenerative eye condition and it was going to take 80 to 90%, basically my central vision in both eyes over the space of 12 to 14 months. And like that, I was 19, so there's a whole life that was lived before it, and there's a whole, like, yeah, there's a long talk in this, so tell me to shut up anytime you want. But yeah, it was a crazy time, really. Like I say, I was 19, just left school, working in construction, sports mad. Life was as normal as could be, whatever that means, or whatever we like to think it is. And I suppose, yeah, then this happened and came about just through, like I say, it was sport again that kind of revealed it, and yeah.
Well, that's it. So you were working construction, you left school, you're from Tip, you're mad into hurling, and was it playing hurling that it started to dawn on you that, hold on, something is not quite right here? What was that first moment?
Honestly, that was the first place I started noticing anything. Like, I probably had... Technically, I would have supposed to have glasses in the classroom or this, that and the other. So, like, maybe there was something there. So, but, yeah, when I was playing sport, I was just, like, just these finite kind of hand-to-eye kind of skills. And, like, it started off, it was the pre-season. Maybe I wasn't seeing the far-end puck out as well. And then I remember the exact game anyway. It was, like, we had a challenge match. It was Paddy's Day. And I just got a hand pass and completely missed the ball. And, like I say, it was just, I couldn't excuse it away. I couldn't say it was the weather. I couldn't say it was this, that and the other. So, like, I just thought I needed contact lenses. It was as innocuous and as simple as that. And went for an eye test the following Saturday and the whole thing just snowballed.
What did that mean and how quickly did it manifest itself that your sight was going?
Yes, like even that whole journey from eye test to finding out what's the name of this thing to, like, I gave 3 months probably up and down to Watford. So that eye test led to an emergency letter, go to A&E when they realised, right, there's a blur in one eye and my other eye was compensating. So people might be wondering, like, oh, how did he not know or whatever? But the body is designed to adapt, and it was only in one eye at this stage. So from there, A&E, you're being tested inside out, upside down. It probably took 3 months before I got the official diagnosis, and then that just in its sum total was saying you're going to lose between 80 and 90%, and generally it's between 12 and 14 months type thing. So not a crazy amount of certainty or absolute, or to be honest, even there wasn't a whole pile of solace in that either, because I was 19 and I was coming to the table with all my independence, all my everything, and thinking you're cool, thinking you're driving your car, thinking you're all these things, and then you don't know what legally blind is. You don't know what, like, having a disability is. Like, all these words, you don't relate to any of it. So that was, like, yeah, it was chaotic.
And it comes so fast and so hard to deal with at such at a rapid pace as well. And
it's crazy though. I mean, it's fast and it's slow because it's degenerative. So it was like getting worse day by day, week by week. Okay. So it was, but it was like, it was super fast in like looking back on it, but it's also, and you don't have time to deal with it, but you're actually living it as well. Yeah. So like you say, like you're trying to play the sport and the car goes, and then you're not able to play with the local soccer, and like it's bit by bit, you're kind of
absolutely. And because sport, as you've mentioned a number of times, was such a big part of your life, your existence, and work as well. And then you kind of said your only other outlet was socialising, and started to drink, and alcohol then became a problem for you as well.
Yeah, and I've spoke about that a few times, and like like sport, socialising, like that was the only one that was left. I was trying to keep everything as normal as I could, and I didn't want the world to change around me. I didn't want people to change. I didn't want to be all these things that were happening, or meeting OTs, or meeting charities around being blind, and learning how to use a laptop when you're visually impaired and all that. Like, I ran away from all that. Whereas, like, I weirdly rationalised, like going to the pub with the lads, elbow flexion, just fine. Yeah. Like, it was normal. And it was something that a 19 and a 20-year-old just does. But, like, obviously I took that to the excess. And, like, in hindsight completely, like, it was escapism, and I was able to get out of my head. And, like, because the whole thing about, like, losing your sight as well, you're losing a visual sense. So I was living in my head through all this. And I wasn't talking to my friends about it. I wasn't talking to my family. I was, like, constantly just telling people, it's grand, it is what it is.
But you did end up in a treatment centre?
Yeah, I did, at the age of 22, like, and like that. So in the space
It's amazing for you to realise that, though, to go, this is wrong, at the age of 22, to go, I need help.
I was lucky. I had a really good support network and good family and good friends, and like people, like I knew it inherently that I was questioning my behaviour a good bit, and there was plenty of blow-ups along the way, like where, do you know what I mean? It wasn't just one day. It was like, Peter, you have a drink. Like, you know, people had said this to me, and people had said, like, Joe, you're like, you need to talk, you need to deal with this, you need to whatever. And I was like, I know, I'll be good. And you might be good for 2 weeks, and then you go back to the old behaviour and that kind of stuff. And it was all escapism and just not dealing with it and putting up fronts. And honestly, that was the best decision I ever made, because it was like 28 days, you go in, you talk about, like, it was 28 days of counselling and 28 days to reflect and 28 days to look at your behaviour. But I got to look at the condition, I got to look at what was happening to me, and I hadn't paused on it for, do you know what I mean? And like I say, I didn't identify with it, I didn't have role models, I didn't have any of these things. So it was just this, like, honestly, best decision I ever made to go in there, because, like, just the penny dropped. It's
Fair
like,
play.
And sport became a massive factor in your life again. You went to an open day in UCD, sat up on a bike, and it gave you a whole new lease of life, a new purpose.
100%. And like, to be very pointed about it, it probably came about in the treatment centre, where, like, kind of had this realisation that it's like, I hadn't lived a full day as being visually impaired. I never gave being visually impaired a chance. It was always trying to be the old me. Yeah. And so we kind of said, right, I kind of have a chance here to invent who visually impaired Peter is. And strength was, or sport was obviously, like, just a huge part of who I was. And it was something that I never realised how big it was in my life until it was gone. And I suppose we all have that moment of gratitude or whatever, like, whatever we lose, you know, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to throw myself into this. I'm going to, like, use the one thing I know I can do well and try and shape it around this new Peter and see. And it snowballed. It wasn't like I was trying to go to Paralympics. It wasn't like, I honestly wanted to find a five-a-side game of soccer, some visually impaired lads, feel like I was playing at a decent level, playing at my level, and there was no sympathy involved. There was just peers and, like, just lean into it a little, as opposed to running away from it all
And that sort of support, you end up winning a national title 7 months after first sitting up on a bike, then you end up as a Paralympian. Like, it is truly phenomenal. And now you're doing something else, the likes of which I can't even imagine. You're running from Malin to Mizzen.
Yeah, the Paralympic journey took on its own life, and I retired during COVID, and I realised like I need to be doing sports, and I need that, even that connection with the world of disabilities. I probably missed it when I left the Paralympic stuff. So in October now, I'm running from Malin to Mizzen for the National Council for the Blind. So it sounds easier when you just say it like point to point, but in sum total, that's 586 kilometres is what my route is. And
no, it doesn't even sound easy when you say it point to point, Peter. I'm going to be honest, it really doesn't sound
sounds
easy.
more like an alliteration maybe or something.
But doing that in 5 days, 586 kilometres in just 5 days, all ending on World Sight Day, which of course is on October 12th. How does it work?
Yeah, how do you do it?
Will you have to have a team around you? Because obviously with 80% vision and some of the roads that you could be travelling along.
Yeah, the team is growing, lads. The team is growing. So anyone watching, feel free to reach out and all that side of things. But no, on a practical sense, like, so we've broken into 5 days. We've worked with a guy on the route. We're going to have people on bikes. There's people volunteering through the website. There's people connecting, saying like randoms I don't even know, saying like, yeah, I'd love to run at you in Cork when you're coming through here. It's like, it's turning into this big thing, and like keep it going kind of thing.
Yeah,
because like,
brilliant.
look, the organisation are doing huge work. On the practical sense, yeah, it's 5 days. My smallest day is 108. My largest day is 130 kilometres.
Oh my God.
I'm going to need, even from a moral support point of view, I'm like people just come out and help and whatever.
And can you see, like, when you're, can you see, you know, the road, everything around you, like?
I kind of fell in love with running because of, like, with my condition, it offers the most amount of independence. So, like, when I was cycling, I had to be on a tandem bike all the time.
Of course.
Which meant I always needed someone to call over, someone to whatever. Whereas, like, once I learn a route, and I generally go out with some of my mates, learn a route, and say I live near Phoenix Park, you go do a few laps, and it's like, right, I'm going chancing this myself. And I love that kind of just pushing the boat out a little bit further. What can I do myself? Like, a lot of having a disability is kind of just owning your own version of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the way I navigate a laptop is completely different. We were talking about Jason Smith, we were talking about whoever. Like, there's a spectrum of disabilities, and that's the one thing like that took me a long time. I only thought blind means blind, but like I'm legally blind, but like my version of it, do you know what I mean? I'm 80, 90% blind. So you kind of have to learn what works for you, what sits well with you, and what's independence versus making yourself an island. And that's the big thing to learn, to ask for help when you need help, but try and do as much as you can when you can.
Incredible. How inspiring is that? Yeah. Really, really is. Peter, if people do want to get involved more, it is petersvision.org, or if you do want to follow it on social media, at petersvision01. Please do get in touch if you want to run alongside Peter as well. It's fascinating. Good on you.
And it's to raise funds for the National Council of the Blind, right? Which is
and
amazing.
on that, so if you don't mind, even just for the literally 10 seconds, so it's for a natural project. They're hoping to have this mobile unit, so whereby it's going to go community intervention. It's going to reach 150 towns next year. Essentially an ophthalmology department on the road, and like 80% of like legal blindness is actually preventable because of our waiting list, because of public systems, this, that and the other. So it's like, it's getting out into the communities, it's giving service. It can, like, they're having AI machines in the van that can screen for early detection. It's a huge project. Like I said, I'd love to.
Well, and it's a huge undertaking that you're doing as well. Thank you so much.
petersvision.org to find out more there. Peter Ryan, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been amazing.
I really appreciate it, all right?
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Now, up next, we have a super simple spin on a classic dessert.
Yes, we are joined by culinary queen Catherine Leyden, who's showing us how to whip up one of my faves, a lemon drizzle cake.
Really?
Catherine?
Yeah, it's amazing recently how many times I've been asked, can you give us a quick, simple recipe for a lemon drizzle cake? Okay. So we have it coming up now, and I'm going to take this one out of the oven. Because
that's it. There you go.
That was quick.
Okay, well, sure, listen, coming up next.
We'll leave that there for a minute, right? Okay. Now, to make the cake, very simple. Here we have 150 grams, that's 5 ounces of butter at room temperature.
Love it.
And a little tip, if it's not at room temperature when you're starting, if you heat the bowl, put some boiling water into your mixing bowl for a few minutes, and that'll help to...
very good.
Yeah, that'll help to blend the ingredients together. Yeah, much quicker.
Tip,
very good idea.
So this here is pretty soft, so we're going to just give that a whip. Here I have 150 grams, that's 5 ounces, of golden caster sugar.
Okay.
Getting a bit set in the bowl there.
Good stuff.
There we go. Now,
does it have to be golden caster sugar? Could it be?
no, it can be regular caster sugar as well.
Okay.
But not the ordinary granulated sugar like sugar you put in your tea.
That's too big, is it?
It's too coarse, yeah.
Okay.
And you'd get a very hard crust on the cake afterwards.
Well, that's good. Would you not want a hard crust, like crunchy?
No.
No, okay.
Okay.
No. Now, sometimes with the lemon drizzle cake, you can put an icing on top. You know, just icing sugar with lemon juice in it. But it adds more calories to it.
We're not having that today,
No, you're not having it. Very ordinary today. Now, here we have...
the better.
Next, we have 2 eggs.
Okay.
You don't even have to beat the eggs, just tip them into the mixer.
Okay.
And we give these a bit of a whisk up.
It is simple, isn't it?
Very simple, yep. And indeed, if you don't have an electric mixer, you could use the old elbow grease and a wooden spoon.
Okay, okay.
Now, here we're going to add a pinch of salt
right.
to the flour.
What does the salt do, the pinch of salt?
Just draws out the flavour of the lemon in the cake. Okay. Now, pinch of salt and the sieved flour. Here we have some lemon rind.
Lovely. That's the flavour right there.
And it's the rind you put in, not the juice?
No, the rind you put in, you put the juice.
After.
Afterwards.
Goodness.
Now, yes.
My patience is
So we have the
not
salt
there
added.
today.
And you see we have all the... Now, just a tip for lemon rind. I have it here.
Okay.
When you're grating your lemon rind, just get the bare rind. Don't go into the white pith.
Yes.
Because it'll toughen up the cake.
Yeah.
And
So
it'll affect the taste.
So you just keep turning the lemon frequently and getting just the top.
That's right, yeah.
The top,
yeah.
Okay, the top
In fact,
layer.
it helps as well if you just put it for a few minutes into few seconds into a microwave.
The lemon?
You get more juice. Yeah, you get more juice from it.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Now,
That's a great tip. Jeez, you have them all today.
we're going to bake this in a 2-pound loaf tin.
Okay.
900 gram, 2-pound loaf tin. And
so
you end up with a mixture that looks like a batter. Now, that's quite hot.
So is that just a normal cake then, Catherine? At the minute,
It's not. It's a variation on a big Victoria sponge.
Yeah.
But there's slightly bit more sugar in it. Usually you have equal quantities of flour, sugar, and
obviously the lemon rind as
butter.
well.
But I'm just doing it. It's a cross really between a bread and a cake.
Okay.
Okay. Now.
And what's the raising agent in this one?
It's self-raising flour.
Self-raising flour.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's the same as baking powder. And another small tip, if any of the viewers have just plain flour in the house, you can make it self-raising by adding 2 teaspoonfuls of baking powder to a pound of flour.
Right.
You want to convert your plain flour into
I
self-raising.
haven't even started. Tommy's on to a second slice here.
Yeah. Very tasty, Catherine.
that's
a
normal
thumbs up
enough.
from me.
Oh my God,
Now-
that is incredible.
Just needs a bit of
that batter,
icing on top, isn't that
Oh,
right?
I knew he'd say that. Now,
it's
just tip all the mixture in. It's a batter-like mixture.
Right.
So it takes about 40 minutes to bake in a 350, 180 gas mark 4 temperature. And with a spatula, scoop all the mixture out, as we've done here.
Lovely. Look at that. Right.
Now,
I'll fire that in for you and you can look after the other one, sure.
This is
Want to do that?
very lemony. Is that just from?
Oh yeah, it doesn't need that, does it?
It's very lemony. Is that
Thank you.
just from the small bit of rind you put into it?
no, it's also coming from the syrup that I'm going to put in now.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Okay.
jumping ahead. I'm jumping ahead.
Jumping ahead.
The magic
In there, I put the
ingredient.
juice of the lemon. I used the rind in the cake. The juice went into the saucepan, and I added 2 tablespoonfuls of ordinary granulated sugar.
Okay.
What are you doing
And
now?
you put it. I'm just making little holes with a cocktail stick
Why is that?
because we're going to pour the syrup over it.
And then it's because I was it's
clever.
very it's so lemony.
Isn't
Like
it?
yeah.
So you've no ways to use the 1 lemon, the juice, the rind in the cake, and then the juice to make the syrup that goes and that. Leave that then sit until it goes completely cold, and you're ready for tasting.
Gorgeous.
That's
You
so
like it?
good. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of lemon drizzle cakes, and that one it's super lemony, it's sticky, my fave.
Would you say it's your
Great.
favourite you've ever tasted?
Coming up next, no, I'm joking. I know it was delicious, Catherine. I loved
Thank
it.
you
It was so
much.
good. Thank
So
you.
we have Bailey's cheesecake next week, Tommy.
Bailey's cheesecake. No worries. Thank you very
right.
much. It's going to be
My
my favourite.
pleasure.
Thank you, Catherine, as ever. Right, coming up next, we're going to be bonding with bugs found in your back garden.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we are learning why it's so important to be curious about creepy crawlies. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this break.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Now, remember when you're spending your afternoon exploring, what creepy crawlies did you do? You go explore
I mightn't have done too much of that now. No.
Okay,
no.
lived in your garden. Well, my kids love it. And thanks to screens, though, this is becoming a dying pastime for kids.
Yeah, this morning we're learning more about the creatures around us with the co-host of the Critter Shed podcast, Collie Ennis, and our two gorgeous little helpers, Penny and Emily May. So, Collie, you obviously have... Good morning, girlies. You obviously have a big love for the critters and the insects and the nature. Have you always been like this? Did this start while you were a young child?
Yes, around the same age as our lovely assistants here today. I would have been out in the garden, out in the parks, digging around, flipping logs, having a look around, and it instilled a love of nature in me that I still have to this day.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is encourage kids to get back out, get off the screens, get back out into the garden and have a look around and find out what they like and what's interesting.
It's so important, isn't it? Because it was something that we definitely did growing up. But nowadays, with iPads and television screens and computer games, like it's important though for kids to know about nature and different animals, particularly in Ireland.
Yeah, there's a digital disconnect from nature nowadays because we're always on screens or always watching our phones. And when you instill a love of nature in young children, they take that on into adulthood and really start to care about the environment and the planet and all the other good stuff that you need to do.
Well, and sorry, go ahead.
But why is that so important? Because certainly in the world that we're living in now with climate change, and you're seeing all these disasters going all over the world, like if you want kids to recycle and to look after the planet, it starts at home, really.
Yeah, you need to have a reason for it. You need to have a if that passion is there, then you don't have to kind of be lecturing people about it. It's just a love that you want to continue on, especially with biodiversity, encouraging animals into your garden, into our spaces, into our parks, living beside these creatures and getting on well with them. And like, it's really good for your mental health and it's great all around.
And we'll go over then to Emily May and Penny over here. Tell me, girls, do you like spending a lot of time outdoors?
Yes.
What do you like to do when you're outdoors?
I like to play out with my friends in Wexford.
Okay.
In the playgrounds.
And what about the bugs? Do you like going looking for bugs?
Yeah.
What's your favourite bug?
Well, it's either a ladybird or a butterfly.
Butterflies, lovely, good choice.
Yeah.
And what about you? What's your favourite?
Some spiders like Daddy Longlegs.
No, not spiders.
You're a brave girl.
I hear you had got in trouble for having a Daddy Longlegs in school by any chance. Tell us what happened.
We were just trying to help them and see if they were
holding
okay.
them. Then the teacher just gave out.
Gave out to you? Why?
I don't know.
They're heroes.
Yeah, they are.
Legends. I love it.
Yeah, they're leading the charge there.
Brilliant.
So we've no Daddy Longlegs with us this morning, Collie, is that right?
No, we've got some interesting bugs.
Right, what have we got?
So this is a door beetle, and it's our Irish scarab beetle, and
That's
they're
a
quite
whopper.
big. Yeah, it's monstrous. This is a female. So do you want to have a hold there? If I put your hand out. There you go. Look at this, professionals.
Wow.
And you can see they're really chunky beetles. They like to eat poo, so they're great recyclers of cow dung, and they'll lay their eggs in it, and their pupae will form in it and turn into adults, and they'll fly off as well.
So that size of beetle, we'd find those in our gardens.
That's flying around, yeah. So if you're in a rural area, you'll kind of find these guys more so than in the city. But you will see them coming in anyway. The likes of the Phoenix Park would have a lot of them as well.
Okay, right.
Oh, he's enjoying that.
Yeah, look at this. Now,
who's going to take the snail?
This is a very beautiful Irish snail, and people tend to think of Irish snails as kind of dull and your garden snail, but you can see this is a beautiful black-lipped snail. It's called a black-lipped snail because just on the edge of the shell there's that black band, and they vary in colour from this to like bright oranges and yellows and all sorts of different colours. So they're really beautiful. And like, you know, as I said, people tend to think of bugs as being dull and disgusting animals, but they can be quite pretty as well.
Yeah, you'd almost compare it to, like, you know, we have a lot of diversity in the butterflies and their wings, but they're just as beautiful and colourful as them.
Same with our spiders and beetles and everything. There's a lot of variation and a lot of beauty if you go looking for them.
How important is it for our biodiversity with the likes of worms and for people's gardens and bits and pieces like that?
Essential. Essential. These are our life support system. We disappeared, the world will go on perfectly fine.
Okay.
If these disappeared, we'll be in big trouble because they help cycle everything, like all the leaves that fall, and they provide pollination for our fruits and vegetables and all the good stuff that they do for us that goes unnoticed. So, yeah, they really are incredibly important.
So what could we do, like the average person, what could we do in our back garden to encourage this kind of biodiversity right outside our back door?
Great question. So what you can do is stuff like, I have a small setup here, but just leaving leaves where they lie.
Okay.
Set off a section of your garden, maybe 1 metre square, where you can just put all the kind of detritus of the leaves that fall down, and let that be a little patch for wildlife. You can plant wildflowers, you can put in a small pond, which will encourage creatures like this beautiful little newt here.
Look at this guy. Can I have a
Yeah,
go?
you can certainly have a hole. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you have these creatures like newts and frogs that will show up to your garden. Leaving a wild patch for nature is the key.
Okay. Hey, girls, have you got a question for Collie? Who wants to go first? Emily May, you go first.
Where does the beetle live, the door beetle?
The door beetle will live in farms and countryside, and he, as I said, loves to eat cow poo. And
cow poo?
Yeah, they're really, really fond of it. And you'll see them, they're like helicopters coming down to land on the cow poo. So it's that's what they really like.
And Penny, have you got a question?
Where does the nocturnal thing live?
The newts.
The newts.
So newts love, for about half the year they'll live in ponds, and then for the rest of the year they'll live under logs and leaves like this, and eat slugs and worms and beetles as well.
Very good. Collie, for people who are not big fans of insects, and in particular spiders, have you any tips for anyone watching this morning who has that fear, and it is spider season at the moment?
First of all, don't be worried. We haven't got anything in the country that's gone to... We're not Australia, so there's nothing here that will do you.
I've seen some pretty big ones this year.
But like, they're not here to harm you. They're fine, and they're actually, again, very useful for our ecosystem, and they clean out your house of the real pests that you don't want
the flies and stuff. So we should be thanking the spiders and not screaming at them. Okay, I'll try and remember that for next time. Guys, thank you so much for coming in with us today. Emily May, Penny, amazing, and thank you so much, Collie Ennis, for chatting us through these little critters.
How good is that, getting the morning off school to come play with these little things? How good. Hey, guys, thanks so much. And people want to find out more, the Critter Shed podcast as well. Thank you for that. Now, we've still lots more still to come in the final hour. She is one of the hardest working actresses in Ireland. Cathy Belton stopped by for a chat.
Plus, we're learning how to make superfood shots to boost our immune system. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Ooh!
Hello, you're very welcome back to the show. We've still lots to come before 10 o'clock. We're going to be talking science, supporting the immune system, and we've got an actor upstage and screen.
Bouncing all over the place.
We're doing
so
busy
many
hour.
things going on. First up, she has been in everything from Red Rock to Philomena even. Philomena?
Close enough.
Remember that film starring Joy Dai Dounch? Celebrated actor Cathy Belton tells us about her latest role on the small screen.
Plus, we're going to be understanding unconscious bias, or just bias in general, with Scientist Phil Smyth. Good morning to you, Phil. Bias, is that just natural?
It can, yeah, but it's also about our experiences during life and things that we've had happen to us. But we'll go through all of it and see why it's part of our everyday makeup, and everybody has it.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to learn the science of bias.
No one on TV has bias. We're always two sides. Yeah. There's never any bias to anything.
Kinda, yeah.
Ever. We love every dress that's in the fashion slot all the time. Plus, with the children finally back to school, it's only a matter of time, and I'm sorry to say this, but it is true, before sixth season is upon us. But Shiva's finding out how to boost your child's immune system this morning, Shiva.
Yes, we are doing shots with the fabulous Forager Feebee, but not the kind you might take at 2 a.m. Imagining my disappointment. What have you got for us this morning, Phoebe?
Well, the trees are absolutely heavy with fruit at the moment, so I brought along some lovely berries that you can forage and turn into absolutely medicinal tonics to help you support your immune system throughout winter.
I can't wait. It smells amazing already. Yeah, I'm looking forward to these.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
This morning starts out dry across much of the eastern half of the country with spells of hazy sunshine with highest temperatures of 8 to 13 degrees Celsius. This afternoon then, rain will spread to most areas across the country, becoming heavier and more persistent in Connacht and Ulster with highest temperatures of 12 to 17 degrees. And tonight, patchy outbreaks of rain or drizzle will persist with some mist and fog in places. Minimum temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. And that's your weather outlook.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media.
Hello, you're very welcome back. Now, we have discussed so much on the show here this morning. I think we should just touch on quickly the childcare situation, because childcares around the country, I think, are going to strike for 3 days.
On protest. They're legally not allowed to strike.
Not strike, of
They're
course.
not striking, it's a protest. They're closing for 3 days.
Not like me to get that one wrong, is it? And Rosie just said, I'm a parent with a child in a creche. I have to take leave during the strikes. Protests. Rosie. But I support childcare providers. I think all parents should be out protesting, no striking, no protesting. 2, it's impossible to get places in creches and the fees are way too expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should be supporting absolutely the protests going on, you know. Bernie texting also saying, I have a preschool catering for 24 children. I have to work a second job to keep my school employed and my staff employed. My school open and my staff employed. We are at breaking point. Yes, all sectors need funding, but without the early years sector, parents will not be able to work. I mean, absolutely, parents need to be able to get back to work. They need to be able to trust where they're sending their kids to.
And as you say, the gender gap will only widen because unfortunately it is a lot of the mums who will end up taking the burden of having to stay on at home as well.
Where is the money going?
Well,
like
that's the question.
It's just,
yeah.
It's flabbergasting that there is such a huge budget and we don't know what it's being spent on, because we know that people in childcare are not being paid that much.
Well, that's what Elaine, who is head of the Federation, is asking from the government. Give us a breakdown of where the money is going. Another person who you might have seen on at 8:15 as well was Peter Ryan. Peter was on discussing losing his eyesight at the age of 19. Phenomenal guy, went on to become a Paralympian and has now taken on the challenge of walking and running from Malin to Mizzen, so 586 kilometres in 5 days. What an incredible guy. Adele just said, what a fantastic role model with a wonderful can-do attitude. Well done to you, Peter.
Yeah, like, seriously, he was making as if it was nothing. He was like, it's only...
No. And he can't see. He's got no central vision, so he's got some peripheral, but he can't see anything in front of him. And that's one thing that's kind of, it astounds me, what he's able to do. It's amazing.
Being at 19 and losing your eyesight.
No, because it changes your whole life.
Scary.
He's really phenomenal. If you don't know about it, petersvision.org. And a survey today revealed the top 10 rom-coms to mend a broken heart. Bridget Jones, the classic, was
What would be your favourite?
Would
you have one?
Oh, goodness, I definitely
love
do.
a bit of Bridget Jones.
Yeah.
Like, I love Bridget Jones.
Yeah, what's the one with Richard Gere?
Pretty Woman?
No. Oh, I love Pretty Woman as well. That's
Richard
what I love.
Gere, An
Runaway
Officer and a
Bride?
Gentleman.
Yes, I love that one.
I'm very impressed. I got that. Thank you very much. Big fan of a Czech flick. I've had a lot of broken hearts over the years. I think that was coming.
Clearly.
Bridesmaids is mine. There you go. Or Love Actually.
Yeah, Ruth says, yeah.
Love Actually is my go-to rom-com. Hugh Grant would mend any broken heart.
He certainly would. I mean, is it Love Lifts Us Up Where We Belong? Is that the one from An Officer and a Gentleman?
Where we belong. I love it. What a tune.
Thank you for all of your messages this morning. It has been an absolute joy. Now, all this week on Ireland AM, we're getting cozy with Harry. Cozy with Harry. Do you have a conservatory that needs some TLC? Well, here's your chance to win a fantastic prize. How does a Harry Curry home interiors makeover and a new cozy roof sound to you?
Wonderful. Yes, we are giving you the chance to decorate the space with a €6,000 Harry Curry voucher to make it your own, along with converting your conservatory into a perfect living space.
Now, if you want to be in with a chance of winning this wonderful prize, submit your pictures of your conservatory, not so cosy one, and why it deserves some much needed TLC to Ireland AM Comp at virginmedia.ie. As easy as that.
That is it. Look at that cosy conservatory. Fantastic.
I'd love to have a conservatory.
That could be your... Oh, here we go.
One day.
We were talking mortgages earlier on as well.
We won't even go into those texts.
No, we're not, because after the break, the wonderful actor Cathy Belton talks life and leading roles.
Yeah, we're going to be chatting to her after the break.
welcome back. Now, you'll know our next guest, of course, from Red Rock, Philomena, and detective thriller series Hidden Assets, along with so many other things. And she shared the screen with actors such as Judi Dench and Kate Winslet, to name but a few.
Yes, joining us now is actor Cathy Belton. Good morning to you,
Good
Cathy.
morning.
Great to have you with us. We've just been basically talking about how busy you are at the minute. I mean, you're never off our screens.
It might sound like that and feel like that, but now I'm on the screens and now I'm not working at the moment. I'm sitting here chatting and selling the show now. But yeah, it's been a good year. It really has. And I got to travel a lot with work and work with brilliant people. And I always think great work and great TV or great plays comes from great collaborations. And I've been really lucky that the people I've worked with this year, they were great collaborators. And so, yeah, I'm cherishing this because I could be on the couch for the rest of the year, the way it is for an actor.
You could stay with us for the whole time. But it's kind of, because you have become one of our most successful jobbing actors, you continue to jump from things. And if you look through, you know, your CV, your IMDb, and I always think the one that catches my eye is your character in Circle of Friends, one of our most beloved films.
Oh my God.
Moaning Girl.
Moaning Girl.
She was Moaning Girl.
Well
gotta start somewhere.
In Circle of Friends.
Starstruck.
Can you give us a moan? How good was that? Like, what was that like? Going, so you're going to be Moaning Girl?
And forever known as Moaning Girl.
As Moaning Girl.
Yeah.
God, you've really gone to the beginning of the CV. But that was an amazing film. I mean, to see.
How was it to be Moaning Girl?
It was amazing, yeah. It took a lot of work.
How many times did you have to moan to get the part?
About 5 or 6 times.
Well, auditioning for that one would have been interesting, all right? Well, I would have said Red Rock, actually, because everybody knows you from Red Rock. But it turns out it's not just in Ireland. I gather you're getting spotted all over the world, even for Red Rock too.
Yeah, I was shooting something else out in Belgrade in Serbia this year, and it was mental. It was being shown out there, and somebody came up to me and went, Red Rock. So it's great to be, you know, caught unawares and to see Irish drama travelling.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I'm so proud of, and it's great for the industry as well. And, you know, Hidden Assets the same, you know, that's been on BBC now. And I think, you know, we punch above our weight as an industry in this country, and how much we travel and how much our work has travelled.
Yeah.
All over the world. So long may it continue.
Well, season 2 of Hidden Assets, how's it going?
It's going well. It's going really well, yeah. We're into our 3rd episode next week.
Yep.
And it's got a great reaction. There's a lot of new changes. This time, the CAB team are under a lot of pressure.
So you play Nora Dillon?
I play Nora Dillon, who's the accountant in CAB. She has the most beautiful big brain of any character I've ever played. Her gun is her pen and her whiteboard, and she follows the money. So this year, it's kind of really exciting. We end up going to Belgium to join up with the counter-terrorist unit over there in a huge, big case that has dire consequences. And there's a lot of negotiation and shocks to come. So I really hope people tune in, because it's going to be shocking and exciting.
It's brilliant. Like, Irish television is just... It's going from strength to strength, but a lot of it is around detectives and drama and police like that, and as you say, around CAB, which is a real huge success story in itself around the world.
Yeah.
Is it kind of cool to kind of see how it actually does it work? Like, do you get to actually go into CAB and see how it works?
No, I'd love to, but I have become obsessed with CAB. I have my Google alerts on CAB.
Actually?
And like, that's what they're an amazing organisation. They really are. And the first Criminal Assets Bureau was set up here.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting.
And the success of it as well.
Yeah, so I was very lucky that the researchers put me in touch with a retired member of CAB for the first series, and that was just fascinating to get into their minds and their work, and the work that they do is incredible. They're following the money and beating crime. You know, they're extraordinary.
And they're always in the papers, like we were talking about, the kind of drug dealers that they're going after all the time.
Absolutely.
And this is where it comes with the series, and it is a co-pro with Belgium. But how does it feel for all those kids who were going into accountancy that you're making it sexy. All those people in PricewaterhouseCoopers going, Cathy's making us seem sexy. We're not just numbers.
Well, there's really...
That is a tough job.
That is a job. Sexy accountant.
Sexy accountant. I'm so flattered. I would have called Nora quirky, but I'll take sexy. And her whiteboard is sexy.
But there's a common thread in all this because it's kind of your Red Rock has led to a lot of this because Peter McKenna, one of the creators, he's involved Red Rock, Ken, Hidden Assets. Like he's some fella.
He is a genius. We are so lucky to have him. So Peter gave me a great break in Red Rock. He developed and created Red Rock and wrote Red Rock and ran it. And then he created Hidden Assets. So, yeah, I mean, I feel really privileged to work with great writers and great showrunners. And it's people like him who champion so many actors, writers, you know, very, very grateful.
You're his Robert De Niro. Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro. That's you.
I mean, it's so important to have somebody like Peter as well. And there's a lot out there who are developing, you know, top world-class productions. And particularly with what's going on over in America with the SAG-AFTRA, whatever you call it, strike. You know, it is maybe time for Europe and Ireland to really capitalise.
Absolutely, and I think we're at a real milestone and things have to change, and I stand in complete solidarity with SAG and ASTRA and my colleagues over there. You know, the nature of streaming has changed, and the way actors made their living for so long was royalties. And now that's gone because, you know, you're streamed on Netflix or whatever. So I'm really positive that great things will come out of this for writers and actors. And it can only trickle down as well.
So you stand by those actors that are part of it, but at the same time, you're not really part of it, is that right?
No, we're a different union.
Okay.
So I would be equity, so we're completely different unions. So.
Because
it's because it's Irish, you know, this is American.
Because it would be interesting, like if you were here, and of course we've got state-of-the-art facilities, you were in Troy Studios in Limerick filming Hidden Assets, but it's strange that, you know, your body could be scanned, your voice could be scanned and used in perpetuity whenever someone else wanted it. And you wouldn't technically be acting in that.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a really weird world.
It is a strange world, and I don't know where we'll end up if we let this pass with AI. You know, that you won't need actors anymore. You won't need, you know, voices, even presenters anymore. So I think we need to just...
Don't say anything.
To be fair, people are willing for that.
Can we get some better AIs than these two robots?
Someone who can actually pronounce that word, it would be great.
Bring out the Tommy AI, please.
How can it make so many mistakes? You've worked with some incredible actors as well, which must be just so inspiring. Like we mentioned in the intro, the likes of Judi Dench, Kate Winslet as well, really star-leading women.
Yeah, and that's the gift of the job. And I'm so happy to say that like Judy and Kate, absolutely lovely, decent, hard-working people. And that's a real kind of, you know, the higher up they go.
Now. No, that's the truth here. Like, don't
I wish I could say they're absolute. But no, really, just beautiful people who work hard.
Yeah.
One person you did work with that seems, you know, kind of divides the world. Did you work with her in The Tiger's Tail, Kim Cattrall?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Oh, what a dote.
What a dote.
An absolute dote of a woman.
Right.
Beautiful.
Because there's obviously everything between herself, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kim Cattrall, Sex and the City. Are they who they seem? And she's a lovely human. You enjoyed it.
She's the real deal. Such a gentle soul and a great actress. What a great actress.
Great actress.
Wow.
There you go. There we go.
That must be amazing to get that, though, and to be able to rub shoulders with them as well. Because, like, you know, you've been a part of some amazing productions yourself, but these girls are like megastars.
Yeah, they are. And sometimes you're sitting in the hair and makeup truck going, I can't believe that Kim Cattrall is sitting over there, but at the end of the day, you're there to work, so you end up running lines with them, or, you know, you just get on with it, you know.
In between filming Hidden Assets, you also took on an Ibsen play in Dublin with Callum Lynch. You came in and chatted to us about it. Callum, who, of course, plays Theo in Bridgerton.
Wonderful actor.
Wonderful actor, lovely chap, really nice. He's going on in Bridgerton.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to cast his family, apparently. Have you been chatting to him, being like, how are you, Callum? How's it going? Bring me onto the Bridgerton set.
They need a mammy.
They need a mammy.
I'll just be his mammy for the rest of his life.
You were his mammy in the Ibsen play.
A sexy accountant
mammy.
Listen, you're going to be my agent. Yeah, no, it was mad. And I have the producers of Hidden Assets and the wonderful powerhouse, Siobhan Burke and Kate Lennon, who work so hard and are amazing people, but so kind. And they made it work that I could shoot all my Irish stuff for Hidden Assets. And then I went back in here in Ireland, and then I went back into the Abbey Theatre and did Ghosts, which was adapted by Mark O'Rourke. And we had a ball. We really did. And then finished on the Saturday night, and then flew out to Antwerp and shot the rest of Hidden Assets.
You can see why. Yeah, we can see why we said you're busy at the start of it. But you are going to get a bit of a break, badly needed.
Yes. Yes,
Good stuff.
I am.
Well, listen, absolutely enjoy it as well. And we're all loving the new season of Hidden Assets as well. So,
thanks, guys.
Cathy Belton, thank you. Pleasure to have you with
Moaning
us.
girl, Cathy Belton. Never forget, everybody, never forget.
You're not going to forget.
A pleasure to have you on, Cathy. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Welcome back. Now, do you automatically think the worst or best of people or in situations?
There you have it. Well, all stems from the idea of bias. And join us now to discuss the science behind it and how it impacts our everyday lives is Scientist Phil Smyth. Good morning to you, Phil. Great to have you with us. This is going to be different, isn't it? Normally we have the kids' science, and now we're doing grown-up science. So
everything's grown-up science, Tommy.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything's science.
Well, what is the science of bias then? How are you going to explain
that?
Well,
I suppose we start off with what it is, or what the general kind of idea it is. Like for me, the best way to explain what bias is the opinions or thoughts we make up about people or things before we've met them. So it's kind of how we have a preferred thought or instance, or how we work in our mind to think about someone because before we found the evidence or worked it out that we offer a preference or a favour to. It can be positive, it can be negative, but the first thing to know about it is that all of us are biased in some way.
Okay, and is it about things or is it about people or everything?
It can be both. It can be about everything, and there's lots of different types. It comes from our experiences in life. So it can be through like experiences we had personally ourselves. It can come from cultural, societal impacts. All of these different things have come out through our lives to figure out. It comes unconsciously to us, which is interesting in terms like our unconscious brain though is fabulous and wonderful and all of these things, and it works really, really quickly. Our unconscious brain can process vast amounts of information because it fills in gaps or finds patterns. So it's able to do it really quickly, but often it makes mistakes by doing these things. A common example might be if you have a bat and a ball that costs €1.10 in total, and the bat costs €1 more than the ball. How much would the ball cost, do you think?
10 cent. What?
10 what?
Okay, so your instant reaction is to go to 10, and 50% of people, particularly at college, would go for that. And that's not right. The answer has to be 5 cents. Because if it was 10 cents and it cost €1 more, it'd be €1.10.
€1.10, because it would be zero.
So our quick reaction goes to that. Now, this can happen with gender. It can happen, I know, it can happen with lots of other things, and we fill in gaps. So it's about lots of different ways. And our brain, I have something else that might show how quickly it is. On this slide here, there's going to be lines of text. And all I want you to do, you can see it on the monitor, is count the number of Fs that are in it. So if I hold that up to the screen, can people see that? There. Okay, so all I want you to do is to count, in your head, count the number of Fs. And we'll see. This is where the silence falls on the studio and everyone falls into the pattern. So how many are you getting?
3.
3. Okay, so if I pointed out that there's 1, 2, where is it? 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Didn't even see the of,
so
the
it blows
prepositions.
people's minds that you're like, what? But you work quickly.
What?
Yeah, I know. So this is how your brain works. It makes snap decisions, lots and lots of
Oh, everyone who got 6 at home, well done. We're feeling
Well, if you
real
got 6 at home,
now.
like you're kind of in, I think it was, you're in the kind of the top 2% of noticing these type of things. And we do it quickly with like how we make opinions, like, you know, like gut instinct or the first impressions type of thing. It's how we work in groups as humans as well. You want to feel connected, you want to feel... So often you will have men will favour men in lots of its situations, and women will favour women.
Yeah.
But in other instances where you see associated power or you want your group to be stronger, you might have women favouring men because they might be seen in more influential instances or positions of power. It's also like research has shown that if a man is talking, we culturally and societally associate more value with it when a man is talking, and you're more likely to nod in agreement if a man is talking as opposed to anybody else. Yeah, thanks, Tommy. Great, appreciate that. So it's about how this impacts, and there's lots of different types of bias too.
Are people different, though, that some people think have a more positive bias on things and some people just naturally have a more negative bias towards people or things or ideas?
Yes, because people have had different experiences, because they said of how it grows is your personal experiences, how they've been exposed. There are generalities as well, of course, of how things are seen in society. Some people will actually necessarily see the bad or the good. And so it's about your opinions, which is kind of called confirmation bias. So if you have an opinion and something else is provided or presented to you, you will look for the instances in that content that will confirm what you already believe. So it's a confirmation bias. There are other ones. There's different, like affirmative bias. There's you have selection bias. Like if you have selecting, particularly applies to large amounts of data, that you might only take a selection. If that selection is flawed, then that might mean that your whole results are biased. Examples of this might have been in the US, and they were looking at data from medical outcomes and seeing how people, and was biased towards people who were white. The reason was that is all of the data that were taken was people who were the only ones who had access to health insurance and healthcare. So people from the black community weren't included in that.
Because they didn't have anything.
So there's lots of these different types.
And even with AI, because AI is created by human beings.
Very good.
So it's found that bias is going into AI as well?
Yes, because humans are biased, so we design things. So things that we have designed inherently have potentially our bias in them as well. We've seen that with software that's been designed to select people in terms of like filtering out CVs or different things. Again, particularly people of colour sometimes weren't necessarily, even the photos weren't being picked up. So the sample sets in research is particularly towards different things. There's lots of different ones. Again, you might have opinions that are towards, there's something called the halo effect, which is like when you have someone, they're held in such high esteem or anything else that you presume that everything that they do is great. There's also the horn effect, which is not if you're just attracted to somebody else.
What do you say? Hold on now.
It's a juxtaposition.
Because is there a superficial bias, like for good-looking people?
Yes, absolutely. It's called the beauty bias.
The beauty bias.
So you would necessarily perceive it.
Those links with the horn one as
the
well.
Horn, that's
what about in size and dimensions and stuff? Because I know you've got your other piece of paper here that...
No, there's no failing. The thing about this is that if you understand where things come from, this is what a science is about. If you know what happens or where it comes from, then you can tackle it or come.
Okay.
So, a couple simple things that I was going to show. So it is not just about gender or it is about lots of different. So this one I'm going to hold up. Look at your monitor as well. If you see the two shapes that are on screen there, I would like you to give one of them the name Booba and one of them the name Kiki.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
So I would predict that you're going to give this one, the one on the left over here, the first
Number one.
Number one.
Booba, and the other one called Kiki.
And Kiki, Kiki, the explosion.
So if you look at those shapes, they're kind of bulbous. The first one, it's round, it's Booba. It's kind of like even the sound of it, onomatopoeia kind of. Whereas Kiki is kind of like Kiki. It's up and down.
Kaboom.
It's quite sharp as well. So you can guide people towards picking particular answers based on like the size.
Keith Barry, be careful.
I know.
We're coming for how you do that.
Other things as well, if you figure out these different things. The other one then, ABC letters we have up here. What I'd like you to do is just to stop for a second and then if A had a colour, what would it be? If B had a colour, what would it be? And C had a colour, what would it be? Think about it for a second. And then what my prediction might be, if I take the next slide out, is that this works about 60% of the time.
I had red A and yellow C. I had green B.
Green B.
I had blue, yellow, red. So A, blue, B, yellow,
Mo, the director, she had the same as me as well.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So the thing about this is then, so particularly with the ABC, is that, like ABC 1, 2, 3, some of the colours can match as well. But if you've had the fridge magnets at home that had ABC, or if you watch Sesame Street a lot of the time, it would be
You're a bias could.
So you can see about these things. So if I pick up that information and I know that about you, then I can potentially guide yourself to other particular choices or other things where I can get you to pick things. The most important thing about bias is that if you're aware of it, if you can check yourself, so decision making, slow that process down, figure out how you go, Or the other thing is flip things, flip it.
Okay,
so if you flip the gender on something, and if it seems weird, or flip is this weird in another context, then you know what you're going.
You're a brain hacker. You could be a brain hacker. That's what he just
Darren
did.
Brown. Yeah, exactly. Love it. Phil Smyth, Phil of Science?
Phil of Science, find me there, or simply
on
Science
social media.
Fascinating.
Wow.
Looking forward to what
love
we do
that.
next. Thank you so much, Phil. Cheers.
Frightening.
We'll be back with you in Ireland AM very shortly. Welcome back. We hate to say it, but as both winter and flu season are approaching naturally, we're all looking for ways to give ourselves a little bit of TLC, a boost.
Yes, and Forager Feebee is here now with some healthy shots that will give your body that extra little boost it needs. Phoebe.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? Looking fabulous as always.
Oh, thank you so much.
What have you got for us today?
I have brought some gorgeous berries that I've been foraging this week. The trees are absolutely heavy at the moment, so it's a time for us to actually start making the most of what's there and building up our immune systems for the winter ahead.
How long will we have the berries on the trees? When is it safe until? Because I'm sure they turn.
Yeah, they will start to turn. A lot of the berries have come in a lot earlier this year, so I'm working with them now, and I'll work with them probably until the end of September, start of October.
Gotcha.
As well as that, though, we have to kind of bear in mind that we're not the only ones who use these berries, and we have the supermarket to go into when we want to go get our dinner, whereas we have to take care of our wildlife friends because they can't pop into the shops.
No.
So I would just take what I need. All of the berries that I'm going to show you today are all totally freezable, so you can actually pick them, chuck them in the freezer, and then later on the season as well, if you want to make any of these recipes, you can do that again later on.
So we're starting with elderberries.
Elderberries. So you can probably smell it in the air here at the moment.
It's beautiful.
Elderberry is such a fantastic one, and you'll see it now hanging at the moment hang heavy off the trees. And the tree is called a Sambucus negra.
Stop. So we're doing a shot of Sambuca
We're
today.
doing shots of Sambuca.
Three for a tenner, isn't it?
Sans the booze this time. But these berries are like probably the most supportive to the immune system.
Okay.
So this is great for anybody, and especially for kids as well. Kids have all gone back to school. We're a nation of snots. Everybody is snotting and sneezing. So this is a great one to get into you now and to support your system. And I'm going to show you how to make it because the same process will repeat for the other
all
two.
of them. Okay.
So
what is the
very,
basic
very
idea?
simple. So what you'll do is you're going to pick your berries.
Yeah.
And with elderberries, there's a little bit of a trick to it because elderberries, believe it or not, actually contain cyanide. Inside them, there's a
Of course they do.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
There's a but
It'll
so
knock
but,
the cobwebs off
but
you at
so
least,
do
don't it?
apple seeds and peach pits, but we don't eat them. But if you see how tiny these little berries are, trying to get the seed out of them is pretty tough. Only thing is, once you cook them, that cyanide will disappear.
Okay, so that's okay.
You
so
are
you have to cook them, you're fine.
absolutely
Don't be eating them raw.
But this is why I'm saying it, because you don't want to be. These are not like blackberries that you're going to shove them in your gob when you're walking by the bush.
Which is absolutely.
Good to know.
Trick to get them off the stalks because, as you can see, they're quite tiny, and you're like, Phoebe, how do I pick each one of those off?
Yes.
A fork is your little trick, and you're going to literally slide the fork through these little stalks because we don't want many of the stalks in there as well. We can pull them out if we get them in there, and that will take them all off the stalks for you. So you're going to chuck basically a cup's worth.
Bit of cyanide, yeah.
Bit of cyanide, for your enemies.
People say Ireland AM isn't dangerous. Come on, we're giving you cyanide. We're giving you Tom Cruise today.
It's health versus a bit of murder. It's fine. It's fine. Chuck a cup of water in on top of them. And you're going to simmer them for about 30 minutes. That's what's going to kill the cyanide. Yeah,
Okay,
let them cook. And into that then you can chuck in, think of like your lovely Christmassy spices. So I would throw in the likes of your star anise, some cloves in there as well, witch's broth.
It smells very Christmassy. I'm getting mulled wine season. Yeah.
You can chuck in some cinnamon in there. If you want, you can put in some of the likes of vanilla extract, a good squeeze of lemon in there if you, into it, what you're dressing. And then once this simmers for about 20-30 minutes, strain the berries off it and add in a good glug of honey.
Glug of honey.
Do you want to see what it tastes like?
Store it?
Oh yeah, you can stick it into the fridge. It'll last for a good week. And you're going to have like a little shot or a spoonful a day.
Darling. How's it
now,
going?
one full review.
This is our cyanide. Okay.
You will not die.
Oh my God. That's really good.
I know, right?
Very Christmassy.
It is.
Isn't it?
There's a bang of Christmas off there.
There's a bang of Christmas off
And
it.
is it? And what are we getting from our immune system for this?
Super immune system fighter. This is going to help to support your respiratory system particularly. The elder tree is...
Really nice.
I know.
I don't know that.
The elder tree is known as the fever tree. So, like the tonic, so it can break a fever as well. So this is a great one just for helping support your
what
system.
it's all for there, yeah. And the thing is, you're making these things naturally. Again, we know we have to mind the birds so that it's their food as well. But like these things cost a lot.
Exactly, and it's so easy. That's it. You're simmering it for 20 minutes, and that's
your
it.
elderberries.
So the next one I have here is blackberries and haws.
Okay.
Now, as a herbalist, anybody who comes to me with any kind of complaint of the heart, be it blood pressure, heart issues, even things down to anxiety and stuff like that, I will always reach for hawthorn. Yeah.
Okay.
So hawthorn in Ireland.
Anxiety.
The whole lot.
I just need to wear it. Is that it?
A crown.
Just wear a crown all the time. Just go.
Hawthorn is a particularly special plant for us here in Ireland. It's a sacred tree. It's where the but it's also where the fairies live. Yeah. So we have to be obviously very, very careful of these guys here. But this plant here, as I said, if you need any kind of heart support, this is a great one to introduce into your life.
And do they have to be, again, it's not pop them in your mouth as you're going along?
Well, also again, the berries that have seeds inside them, and that seed also has cyanide, but they're quite a big nut. You're not going to eat them.
You're throwing out the dying stuff really easy.
Keep the balance.
Is this it here?
Yes, you can have a bit of that one there. And I've teamed this one up with some nutmeg and some blackberries that are also in absolute abundance on the
They're
berries.
everywhere
Yeah,
at the minute. And 20, 30 minutes simmer down.
Simmer.
Cheers.
Chuck a bit of honey in. Really delish. How do we feel about that one?
That one's sweeter, I feel.
Yeah, well, that'll be the blackberries as well.
Yeah, that one's much sweeter.
So, see, I bring you the good stuff.
I'm literally getting every last drop out of that. That is so good.
And that's a great way to
It's reminding me of... Is it reminding me of bacon?
Of bacon?
Of bacon?
I don't know what's going on.
Bacon or baking?
Bacon. That is really nice.
And
the last one.
The final one here is made with rose hips. Now, as a kid, I remember going to school and we used to chuck these rose hips down each other's backs.
Where are we getting those?
These guys here.
Look at
these
them.
Are from the dog roses.
See those all the time.
Yeah, we chucked these down each other's back and we called them itchy backs because they had like a fibre in them that made you really itchy. But these guys here actually contain 40 times more vitamin C than oranges. So,
here.
And there's ginger. I see this.
Yeah, stick them down your back there.
Honestly.
Down your back. So that's
Did you
got
open them
ginger
up in
and
there?
lemon and all in it. So really, really delicious.
Go
and
on.
all you have to do
Love
is
the
have a little shot before you head out the door in the morning, and that's you supported for the
They
day.
are absolutely delicious.
I know I'm not getting
Forager
a cold this
Feebee.
week.
Make
Thank
sure
you so much, Phoebe.
find it
Thanks,
online.
guys.
It's amazing. Please have more. Coming up on tomorrow's show, broadcaster Dermot O'Leary will be chatting everything.
Lots more.
News,
See you
sport and weather.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.